One of the things about his COVID response over the last couple of months is one could argue he has not been the face of the COVID response. Not in some time, really, not really since we declared back in July when he declared our independence from the virus, obviously prematurely. The social spending bill, all of his other political problems, none of them can be solved until COVID is behind us. And I think, is this a reminder that he needs to be more front and center on the COVID response than he has been so far?
I don't know. NBC's Chuck Todd challenging President Biden's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, particularly in light of the new Omicron variant. Joining me now is the Hill media columnist and Fox News contributor, Joe Concha. It's not Omicron, by the way, as President Biden kept saying. And again, I just wonder, Chuck Todd said he should be more front and center with all of the problems and the lapses that the president has had. If he was, would that solve the problem that this White House has with the pandemic?
No, because the virus is going to do what it's going to do, and no spin can be put on it. Plus, the president rarely does one-on-one interviews anyway, rarely does solo press conferences anyway. So to get out in front of it, he would actually have to speak outside of a teleprompter, and his handlers just simply do not want him doing that very often. Look, David, this is a president who said as a candidate he would stop the virus, that he had a plan to get it under control. He even said as a candidate that any president who resided over this many deaths, as President Trump did, should not be president. Well, by his own standard, then, Mr. Biden should not be president. Let me just finish this quick thought, David. Quickly. There are more deaths this year now than last year. So by his own standards, nearly 400,000 Americans dead since the beginning of this year. So by his own words and his own standards, Joe Biden should not be president.
Right. Well, we have those words. That's why I was going to stop you, because we have the soundbite. Let me just play that soundbite to Joe Concha's point.
Okay.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
So he said anyone, and he's one. I mean, that does seem to lead you to ask, Mr. President, why shouldn't you resign?
Right. And if I were doing an interview with the president, if David Asman was, that's the first clip I would play to him, and I'd have him answer to that.
Yeah,
right.
Well.
And remember, the previous president didn't have vaccines and therapeutics the way we do now. David, this one does. It's why he's pulling underwater on COVID. That was the one thing that he was pulling over water on. Now he's overall underwater on that. 36% overall if you look at Quinnipiac, somewhere in the low 40s overall if you look at most other polls. Time and again, this president, by the way, is undermining the effectiveness of this vaccine. Remember, he joined a video conference with world leaders wearing a mask despite being fully vaccinated. Then he implores the American public, follow the rules, wear a mask, except when he doesn't do it in Washington, D.C. restaurants when they had a mask mandate, or Nantucket this weekend. I can tell you, as somebody who went to Nantucket not too long ago, they have the strictest mask rules up there than anywhere I've seen in the country. And for him to take off that mask and be filmed, it just shows you the hypocrisy of it all that we see so often from so many of our leaders.
And I think what you heard earlier today when the president was talking about the new variant and he suggested there wouldn't be lockdowns, he did seem to have a more hold back approach to this new variant than, for example, the governor of New York. I think the White House is getting the message that, in fact, first of all, the vaccine rate is much lower than they expected it to be, despite or maybe because of the vaccine mandate. So they seem to be pulling back a little bit on the mandates.
I think, did you watch Michigan-Ohio State this weekend, David?
Yes.
I mean, what a game and what a scene at Ann Arbor, right? And to see that 100,000 people there all together, and you say, okay, time and again we're seeing people gathered in very, very large places, outdoors, mind you, and it seems like the country just wants to get past this so badly. And the messaging that we saw on Friday when the markets tanked compared to today, yeah, they're getting the message all right, as far as wait for the science and the data to come in before you start implementing XYZ rules like the governor of New York is with these elective surgeries. So politically, it's suicide to go ahead and do this when you say to follow the science and then you make it totally political, to Charlie Gasparino's point earlier, who I thought was excellent, by the way, on your show.
No, he's terrific. And so are you, Joe. And thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Joe Concha.